Back, everybody. My name is Wolfblade. Today we're going to talk about color coding this so-called building and introducing you to LightWave layout. See, so far all we've been working with is the modeler, and this is where, like I said before, where we go and model our objects or characters. This is where we also assign different color layers to the object. And the way to do that is by selecting a series of polygons where you want to keep a certain color and pressing the Q button and giving it a name. But before we do that, let me introduce you to the surface editor. This is the surface editor. This is where you'd assign it a color here. You can change it by, if you know your color scale, you can modify the color right here. You give it a luminosity, diffusion, specularity, reflection. So this is where you'd go here, and here we'll talk about these later on as we go further. These are the textures, and these are the envelopes. Envelopes are like, I guess it's a good way to think of it as like how color changes over time. And textures are more advanced tools, and then there's the nodes, another advanced uh, coloring tool, and environment, shadows. So yeah, so let's get started. Um, the way to assign a color to a certain part of the object is by selecting it, and right now we're on our point tool. So let's switch it to our polygon tool. So we want to select a certain group of polygons, and we'll do that by going here on the wireframe because it's faster and easier as opposed to selecting them here on the 3D view. Because see, if you select it here on the 3D view, if I hold down Shift and select, see, it only affects one side of the object, as you can see right here. See, one side. As where you go in here in the wireframe, it saves you the work from going around and selecting them. So let's just deselect these right here. We don't need that. So now we're going to press Q. So right now it's at our default. So we don't want that. Let's change this. We need to deselect that and just call this red, because we're just going to color it red. This is just to assign it, a certain color. And we're going to click here. And let's click on red since we called it red. And say OK. And see, there you go. It assigned the certain selections of polys here red. But see, we don't want to do this here. I mean, we want to assign it a name here. We do want to assign it a name. We don't want to do our coloring here. And the reason is because you can't render here in the modeler. Rendering allows us to view our final masterpiece. And the only way you can do that is if you go to layout. So we could go the farther way, or we can go the shorter way by pressing here and then switch to layout, or synchronize to layout, or send object to layout. I would say we should just choose this one. So you'd click on this arrow here and say send object to layout. And this is layout. This is where you do all your animation. Here's your camera. Here's your light. Oop, or select the object. Here's your light. And again, like Modeler, you can view the 3D grid. You can zoom in and out. You can move left, right, forward, backwards. And here you can switch between what you're seeing in the perspective view to the camera view. Or you can look at X, Y. Let's go back to the perspective. That's much nicer. So now the reason why you want to do your coloring here in layout is because you want to see a render, a how do you call it? a sample of what you've done so far. So here we've already assigned it a color. So, and again, here's your surface editor. The reason why it's not activated, if you get this, the reason why it's not activated is because you don't have your object selected. So we want to choose our object, and then here's a surface editor, and now everything's activated. See, and by default, we can choose this and give it a color. Let's say blue. See, so everything, or green, sorry. We already chose blue before. So let's go with something different. I chose green. So now everything is green except for the part that we assigned a color to by using our polygon selection tool and pressing the Q button. See, but we can't do our selection here. So if we want to go back and select other parts, all we have to do is just press this right here, or F12 on your keyboard, and that's a shortcut key to go back to your modeler. See? And it updates the information here. And you do your selection. Remember, we don't want to do our selection here because it will not select the other side. Unless you do want to just select one side, then that'd be okay. And let's do one more. Let's say let's select this right here, and we'll call this, and we'll press Q, and we'll call this top. Okay. See, and it gave it red, but we don't want red, so let's we can switch back to send object to layout, or just switch to layout because it's already there, you know. So it's already open. And now we want to render. What we're going to see is where the camera is positioned. So we're seeing this. So when we go to here, render frame, this is what we're seeing. This is what the camera is seeing. I know, doesn't look that impressive, but still, I mean, that's when you have to work with the surface editor. See, right now, when you fold this down, we have red. This is the parts that's red. Top. We can sign the top a different color. We don't have to stick with that. Let's sign it blue. Okay. And see, now if we render this frame, see, now we have it blue, red, and green. RGB colors. Huh. So we get out of here. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Abort. And this is your timeline. This is where you animate over time. This is where you assign it a key. So let me show you a quick animation. It's very simple. See, so we set a keyframe here. Create a key. Layer 0, okay. So now we move it a little bit further over here. Let's move it to frame 40. Oops. See, we selected the camera. We should have been on our object. So let's redo that again. Create a key. Okay, we like that. And then move this over to frame 40. And then we just either drag back or forward. I think forward is better. So let's do that. See? And that's how it's animating. That's how you would animate different parts of objects too over time. And you just press play right here and it animates. Since we only went to frame 40, that's where it's animating to. So this is layout. And you know, you don't always want to be using this either. You want to be using the Viper window. This is like, you can keep this open and basically see your render. Right now I'm still working out the bugs on how to activate it. So I'll get back to you on that one. But this is how you color your object, and this is layout. And here you add lights, camera, other stuff that we'll go over. But that's it. So that is coloring an object and our introduction to layout.